Good morning and welcome to Second Saturday with GBLA. It is January 14th, 2023, and today we're going to provide a GBLA program overview. My name is Cassie Mulligan. I'm the Marketing and Communications Coordinator at Greater Bakersfield Legal Assistance. So we're going to go over today some program information, eligibility, and then services overview of the different programs that we have to offer here. Now, please note that when you join the webinar, you are muted and your cameras are turned off. If you have a question at any point during the presentation, please feel free to enter those into the question box or the chat. And we will also have an opportunity for live question and answers at the end of the webinar. Now, I want to start today by sharing this disclaimer with you. The disclaimer on the screen is informative to let you know that today's information is not to be construed as attorney advice. I am not an attorney nor nor am I going to represent any legal information or able to address any legal information today. So this presentation will also not constitute as attorney-client relationship, and we are hereby expressing that this is as is and that there's no representations that the information we have today is error-free or that it won't change at some point in the near future. So a little bit about us before we get started. We are a nonprofit organization that offers free legal services in civil matters related to eligible persons residing in Kern County. Now, we've been in Bakersfield in Kern County since 1968, and our objective is to provide access to services for individuals with founding philosophies that are deeply rooted in anti-poverty programs. We represent individuals that are unable or too afraid to speak for themselves, either because of racial, economic, social, or other barriers, and consequently have become mere statistics and social services and economic research. So our tagline is to promote social change and justice by providing high-quality legal services to the low-income community. So eligibility and access for our services. So to be eligible for services of any of our programs at GBLA, you must first reside in Kern County, and then you have to meet the income or other guidelines within our program to qualify for services. So, and then you have to have a legal problem within the core area of practice. Good morning and welcome to Second Saturday with GBLA. It is Saturday, January 14th, 2023, and we're going to present to you today a GBLA program overview. My name is Cassie Mulligan. I'm the Marketing and Communications Coordinator at Greater Bakersfield Legal Assistance. And as I just mentioned, we're going to discuss today program and services overview, including information about who we are, the programs that we offer, eligibility, and then a little bit more in depth about the types of services that we offer with each of our programs. I want to start today first with this disclaimer on the screen. So the disclaimer here, if you read through it, basically what we're telling you is that we are not providing legal advice today. This is not to be construed as counsel advice. I am not an attorney, and I do not represent in any casework involving GBLA. Also, we must inform you that this does not create an attorney-client relationship of any kind, and that all the liability with respect to actions taken or not taken based on the information I provide to you today are hereby expressly disclaimed, that we are not responsible, and we are, again, not providing any legal advice today. So a little bit about us. We were established in 1968, and we're a nonprofit organization that offers free legal services in civil matters to eligible low-income and elderly persons residing in Kern County. Our founding philosophies are deeply rooted in anti-poverty programs, and we represent those who are unable or too afraid to speak for themselves, either because of racial, economic, social, or legal barriers that consequently you've become a statistic in social and economic research data. So our mission is to promote social change and justice by providing high quality legal services to the low income community, and our goal is to help balance the scales of justice. So a bit about our eligibility and access to our services. So not all of our programs have income eligibility. However, we do give the highest priority to low-income individuals and elderly individuals in Kern County. For most of our programs, when you do have to meet those eligibility requirements, including having a legal problem within the core area of practice, meeting the income asset guidelines, and then or be an elderly individual. So you can initially access our information by giving us a call Monday through Friday. We're open from 8:30 to noon and then 1 to 4 p.m., excluding all major holidays. And you can call 661-325-5943, or you can use California Relay or toll free at 888-292-4252. So what we will do is a member of our staff will screen your matter for eligibility, provide brief counsel and advice if necessary, and then make the appropriate referrals to the according program or department. And then you can do all of this without leaving your home or work for the initial consultation. So we can do everything over the phone or virtually via Zoom meetings. And then eligible clients that have more complex legal matters will then be referred to a staff attorney or a hearing paralegal for further assistance and or representation. All clients must first call to apply for assistance, and there's no guarantees that we're able to assist you. But that's what the eligibility screening's for, and we'll conduct a conflict check and eligibility guideline. So here at GBLA, these are our units that we specialize in, and I'm going to go into more depth about what these units are, what programs they have to offer. We're going to start today with the Children and Families unit, then we'll discuss a little bit about our Civil Rights unit does, then Health and Public Benefits, Housing and Homelessness Prevention, our Senior Law and Long-Term Care Advocacy programs, Volunteer Attorney programs of Kern County, and then other services. So under our Children and Families unit, we have our Guardianship Caregiver Project and our Domestic Violence Reduction Project. Our Caregiver Project helps assist caregivers that are seeking to obtain guardianship of a child or children from an individual to help prevent further exposure to domestic violence. Now, the eligibility for this program is that one of the children that you're seeking guardianship of does need to be between the ages of 0 and 5. And again, we do assist with other children as well, but one child in the home has to be 0 and 5 to qualify for this program. We have another guardianship program as well too that I'll discuss in a little bit. So some of the services that we offer are preparing and filing petitions, responding to objections, helping individuals through the mediation and guardianship hearing process itself, posting those hearing letters and orders, and then connecting to other community services to help assist those individuals that now have guardianship. Now, guardianships are important because what we do here at GBLA is what's called probate guardianships, with which this helps prevent children from entering child protective services and so forth. So if a child has already went through the juvenile justice department or the foster care system, then we can assist with guardianships at that point. But this is what's called probate, which we help prevent from going into child protective services and the welfare system. The other project that we have under Children and Families is our Domestic Violence Reduction Project. What we do with our Domestic Violence Reduction Project is provide legal assistance to individuals that are seeking restraining orders and other access to services to protect themselves and children, and we want to promote further exposure to domestic violence and other assaults. So you must be a victim of domestic violence and or sexual assault. Now, we typically do not handle, I mentioned a little bit about our caregiver guardianship project and guardianships, but I want to make it clear that we don't do family law services, so we don't help with custody. However, if we bring you on as a client and we are assisting you with cases such as domestic violence, then custody may come into play. So we have a holistic approach when we deal with services regarding domestic violence. So we help file those legal protection orders. which I just mentioned may include custody, representation in court, so we are there for you, and then make referrals to additional services that assist you and your children with assistance with protection. I also want to note here that if you have filed a restraining order already with the courts or have used a non-legal organization that has helped you with the filing of papers, and those have already been filed with the courts, we cannot assist you with that case. We would have to take you on and start the process from the beginning. So we would have assign you a paralegal and attorney team that would assist you through that process of filing those proper legal documents. Something within our domestic violence reduction project is what we call our immigrant human rights. And so what we do is we promote social justice and impact advocacy for immigrant communities. So we help victims and survivors of domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, and assault. And in immigrant communities, we might assist with applying and or appealing permanent residency status. That might be VAWA self-petitions, U visas. We also promote advocacy with law enforcement, and then help with the services, access to services such as public benefits applications, and then other referrals to additional services as needed. Up next is our Civil Rights Unit. We have two programs under this one, which is the Advancing Health and Racial Equity Through Legal Strategies Project, and then the Fair Housing Law Project. Under the Advancing Health and Racial Equity Through Legal Strategies, we promote social justice and provide education for immigrant population and multilingual communities in our rural areas. So the eligibility for these services are being rural communities, and what we do is we provide outreach and education to increase awareness of services available, whether those are services that you may or may not, depending on status, qualify for at GBLA, but then make referrals to other services in the community as well too. We also do a lot of consumer education around healthcare, housing, domestic violence, and other services. And we may potentially connect you to other agencies in the area that can help you with legal services that we may not be able to assist you with. We also provide what's called an annual People's Convening. This is a yearly conference that we host that reviews immigrant civil rights services, where we have guest speakers come in and talk from a variety of areas, and they are experts in their field when it comes to the topics that we discuss. And then finally, we also advocate to connect rural communities to technology and to ensure that the broadband access that is needed in rural communities is accessible to all individuals. The next project we have under civil rights is the Fair Housing Law Project. The Fair Housing Law Project provides education and outreach activities to increase awareness on what fair housing law is. So we provide education, investigation, and then enforcement services. I'm going to go a little bit more into depth with that right now. So with the Fair Housing Law Project, there are federal and state laws that prohibit individuals from being discriminated against when it comes to their right to housing. This includes not just when you're renting a home, but also when you own a home and you go through the mortgage process to apply for a loan, when you go through the real estate process and you're looking for a home, and how you determine everything in between when it comes to securing housing for yourself and your family. Now, federal laws are pretty commonly known, and those cover protected categories of race or color, national origin, religion, sex. We'll go a little bit more into that in just a moment, disability and familiar status. But in the state of California, there's some additional protected categories, and this includes you being free of discrimination based on your marital status, your ancestry, your age, particularly 40 plus, arbitrary characteristics, which are your physical traits that make you of how you present yourself, your sexual orientation, your source of income, medical condition, and then gender identity and expression. So when I mentioned just a moment ago in regards to sex discrimination, this includes sex discrimination of all kinds, including harassment of an individual, and then protecting individuals with the freedom to express themselves as they see fit. With that, there's also some prohibited conduct that individuals, landlords, or real estate agents, mortgage brokers, and others that deal with securement of housing are prohibited from participating in. And some of those behaviors are things like providing false or misleading information in regards to housing, having different terms or conditions, policy, or rules. So if there's a complex that has a pool and says no kids are allowed, that can be a familiar discrimination, so that all peoples are welcome that live within there. Harassment of that protected class, including any kind of retaliation in regards to individuals that are expressing their rights. Steering into particular neighborhoods. So if you are looking to buy a home and you feel that a real estate agent or organization is trying to steer you in a particular neighborhood based on any of the protected categories, it could be something like that. And then, as I mentioned, the sex discrimination is either the generic, which is typically harassment and other services. But then there's also what's called quid pro quo, which is where you're confronted and given and asked in a situation where it's I'll give you this if you give me that type of thing, or a hostile environment making it uncomfortable. So individuals that work for the property making cat calls to individuals, making them uncomfortable, or harassing them, following them, whistling, so forth. And then of course there's special protections for victims of domestic violence. Then there's reasonable accommodations and modifications that must be allowed for individuals with physical or mental disabilities. And landlords are then required to make necessary reasonable accommodations as long as it is not of a substantial change to source of income for the landlord or to the property. And then modifications for individuals are allowed. And it must be noted that the tenant that is seeking a reasonable modification or accommodation typically has to pay for those services or modifications themselves, except for those that live in federal housing. Federal housing federal housing projects receive money specifically for modification requests. Up next is our Health and Public Benefits Unit, but this includes the Kern Health Consumer Center and public benefits. Under the Kern Health Consumer Center, we provide individual assistance to help consumers navigate the healthcare system and help obtain coverage and services as they need it. Now, the income eligibility requirements are in play with the Kern Health Consumer Center. So you need to be low income, meaning you make less than 200% of federal poverty guidelines, and you must be a Kern County resident. Some of the services that we provide under the Kern Health Consumer Center is community education, informing you of when certain dates are coming up, such as open enrollment periods, and then other services like mobile clinics in the in communities. We may also help appeal with eligibility denials. So if any time you apply for insurance and for some reason a denial occurs because, and oftentimes it'll be something very, very simple like a line was skipped or something, then we help with the appeal process. If you ever need to file a complaint or a grievance with your health plan, so if you feel that you're being discriminated in any kind of way or you're not receiving the care with which you have a right to receive, we do help file complaints and grievances with the appropriate agencies. We also help challenge with denial of services from a doctor or health plan. We assist with billing and affordability issues for individuals that have bills that they're having difficulties paying, and then accessing services because of language barriers, disabilities, geographic, or certain times. We help assist and provide you and referrals to services to make sure that you can get to your doctor appointments, to make sure that there's translation services available to you, make sure that you can, if you live in an geographic area where there's limited access, connecting you to resources to get you to where you need to go for the health access. Our public benefits unit also has income eligibility requirements, and so you do have to be low income and a Kern County resident. And what we do is we work to ensure that low income families have the sufficient resources and services needed to meet necessities of life. So we help with the assistance of the application and then denials, reductions, terminations, and overpayments of public benefits, CalFresh, CalWorks, general assistance, Social Security, and so forth. We provide counsel and advice when it comes to appeals appeals of services regarding public benefits. Then help assist with the filling out of those appeal forms. If you need to obtain health or benefit records for any reason, we help assist with those. And then, of course, representation at hearings if that service is needed. Up next is our Housing and Homelessness Prevention unit. Under this unit, we have our Community Homeless Court, Landlord Tenant Assistance Center, Mobile Home Advocacy Project, and the Sergeant Shriver Housing Project. Community Homeless Court is a special service where we provide legal assistance to individuals that are eligible under HUD eligible homelessness. And the goal is to help remove legal barriers to obtaining and maintaining permanent housing and income. So we use a wraparound approach to address the needs of homeless individuals for both legal and social services. And so with Homeless Court, what we can do is we help individuals with fines that are associated to misdemeanor crimes or to traffic fines. So we don't do criminal cases. We don't assist with criminal records or criminal cases, and it cannot be a currently existing ongoing case. And then also that service starts by calling 211, which is like the coordinated entry system. So you must have went through the coordinated entry system and been verified as homeless or at risk of homeless to receive services for Homeless Court. And so some of the things that we do in addition to addressing things such as fines that prevent individuals from attaining things like driver's license and so forth, is addressing health issues, access to public benefits, so helping with the application or appeals of SSI, Social Security disability, or other general assistance, domestic violence, consumer issues, education, child support, etc. Our Landlord Tenant Assistance Center provides assistance to low-income tenants with landlord disputes pre-eviction services. So this is when you receive what's commonly known as an unlawful detainer or a notice to vacate. These are your 3-day notices, your 30-day, 60-day, 90-day notices, and so forth. This is before the eviction process is started. So what we do is we help unrepresented parties understand and prepare for court, or whenever possible, help landlords and tenants reach out of court settlement, so mediation. Eligibility for this service is case by case. The program is actually located in the Kern County Superior Court building on the 3rd floor at 1415 Truxton Avenue. And what we can do is provide either brief counsel and advice on what forms that you need to fill out to respond with. Or we don't actually help assist with the filing of those forms, but we can guide you to what forms you need to fill out. And then if necessary, we might provide assistance with mediation with the landlord. So we want to try to prevent the eviction process by seeing if we can find neutral ground between both parties. We provide educational workshops regularly throughout the year, where we provide more information about what different notice to vacate notices are, unlawful detainers, also pre-eviction and eviction processes, and then on resident rights and what your rights are as a resident. We might provide case management support services for individuals that the pre-eviction, if they reach to eviction process, and they'll be homeless individuals, and then make referrals to other services as needed. Next, we're going to share information about our mobile home advocacy project. The purpose of this project is to increase awareness of rights of mobile home residents and to prevent mobile home residents from becoming homeless. When it comes to mobile home residency, there are what's called mobile home residency laws that are pretty particular to individuals, a little bit different rights when it comes to the ownership of a mobile home. So with mobile home ownership, you own the mobile home, but you rent the space that the mobile home is parked at from park management. And so there are certain guidelines and rules and policies that have to be followed when it comes to the process of terminating tenancy. So what we do is provide education, brief counsel and advice when necessary, and then we help with pre-eviction and eviction disputes as needed. Up next in our Housing and Homelessness Prevention Unit is our Sergeant Shriver Housing Project. This project is objective is to prevent homelessness by assisting low-income individuals with the unlawful detainer. This is the actual eviction process. And then what we do is we assist tenants in the eviction lawsuit when the landlord is represented by an attorney. So once you reach the eviction process and something has been filed, the landlord has filed with the courts to start the process of evicting you from the property, that's when we help you with through the Sergeant Shriver Housing Project with legal representation in that particular case. So what we do is provide legal counsel and advice on how to proceed. We negotiate what's called a mandatory settlement conference, which is mediation with the landlord to see if we can find a solution to the problem before the eviction actually goes to trial, or representation in trial if mediation doesn't work. And then, of course, we make referrals to other agencies that provide access to services. Up next is our Senior Law and Long-Term Care Advocacy Unit. Under this, we have 3 special projects. I mentioned earlier I'd talk a little bit more about guardianship. We have our Grandparent Guardianship Project underneath this unit, the Kern County Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program, and the Seniors Law Center. The Grandparent Guardianship Project helps individuals that are seeking guardianship of children living with them, and the eligibility requirements for this program is the individual seeking guardianship is age 55 or older, and the child is under the age of 18 and currently resides with you. I talked a little bit earlier about the caregiver program. As I mentioned with that one, the caregiver's age does not matter. It's the age of the child. This program, it's the age of the individual seeking to obtain guardianship of a child under the age of 18. We provide all the same services I previously mentioned before, preparing and filing for the guardianship petitions and hearings, responding to objections, and so forth. I want to go ahead and talk a little bit more about what guardianship actually is so that you understand the differences. I mentioned earlier about probate guardianship versus juvenile justice. Well, with the guardianships that we provide, this is also a probate guardianship. That guardianship now gives you the legal responsibility and authority to make decisions on behalf of that child. This includes decisions regarding their health care, both their physical, mental, and social well-being, education, and other things, access to services such as public benefits, health insurance, and others. So that guardianship is important for individuals that are seeking to take guardianship of children, and they need that legal course of action to make the decisions necessary for the social well-being of that child. Up next is our long-term care ombudsman program. This program provides the oversight of care of patients that are in long-term care facilities. We have ombudsmen are advocates for the long-term care residents and their families, and the goal is to enhance quality in life and care of the residents in these facilities. So what we do is we go in and we are the eyes and ears for individuals that are receiving care in facilities, and then we actively investigate complaints and seek to have resolution to complaints, and including abuse investigations and reporting to the appropriate agencies, witnessing advanced directives, including healthcare directives and others, providing community education on information about resident rights in these care facilities. And then by maintaining a regular presence at these facilities, we ensure that individuals in the care of these facilities are being treated with the dignity and respect that they deserve. We also have what's called the Family Council. And the Family Council is where the ombudsmen work with the individual patient families to make sure that we provide that the loved one that's in care is receiving proper services. Next, we're going to go over our Senior Law Center. So at the Senior Law Center, we provide an array of high-quality assistance to individuals 60 years of age and older, with an emphasis on those that are in the greatest economic and social need. Particular attention is given to low-income minority individuals and older individuals with limited English proficiency, as well as older individuals in rural areas. We do a lot of consumer education with our Seniors Law Center, where we provide information provide advice like Don't give your social security out number over the phone. Don't share your banking information and other consumer education information. We help with the assistance with public benefits, including the application denials and so forth, social security, Medicare, health insurance, and others, and then denials and appeals of any type of public benefits. Our volunteer attorney program is a special program here at GBLA. So what we do is we involve private attorneys and others in delivery of pro bono legal information and assistance to benefit people, indigenous and low-income GBLA clients or client-eligible communities. So if we have so I went a little bit about different eligibility requirements for different programs. But if at some point we have a client that we really want to assist and help with a particular area, and to help this individual with a particular area of law that we don't provide services for, we might reach out through our volunteer attorney program to private attorneys in other areas of practice. Those attorneys then accept what's called a pro bono case referral, and they may provide counsel or co-counsel with GBLA attorneys to address those legal services. Then we also have individuals that not just private attorneys, but paralegals and law students that help assist with legal research and writing, making court appearances as needed, and then offering community workshops in area of expertise. So again, if it's an area that we don't offer, we might have a workshop with an outside agency. So the other services that we offer are our programs called Access to Justice Rural Project. I've talked a lot about different programs that we have to offer. We had a couple that were very specific to rural areas, but this particular project is just an advocacy to ensure that all of our services are available to all individuals in Kern County, including those in rural areas. Ridgecrest, Cal City, Mojave, Rosamond, Arvin, Lamont, Shafter, Delano, McFarland, Lost Hills. We do provide services to all residents of Kern County. And so this Access to Justice Rural Project is to ensure that our services are easily accessible for people living in those areas. And we are working to make sure we can have a more regular presence in those areas. And last but not least, we have our consumer law project. This has everything to do with education around consumer law. I mentioned briefly that we do a lot of this through our seniors law center, but overall we provide consumer education and workshops with outside agencies to individuals so they can understand what their rights are as a consumer. So that was a lot of information. Thank you for staying with me on through all of that. Of course, we do other workshops, and we'll have future webinars through the year that will go more into depth about each of those programs and what those services are, and then hopefully have an opportunity to meet with paralegals, legal advocates, and or attorneys at future webinars. Again, none of our webinars are intended to provide legal counsel and advice, more as just making you aware of what services we have available and providing some education to you in regards to what your rights are. So as I mentioned several times through my presentation today, the best way to apply for services is to call our main intake line, which is 325-5943. In just a moment, I'll share a couple additional numbers for program specific numbers in just a moment. So all individuals that we provide services to must have an issue within our priorities. So you must have an issue that falls in one of our areas of expertise and that we provide services for. You must live within the service area, meaning Kern County. You must be a U.S. citizen or have immigration status, and then be low income. However, I mentioned there are some exceptions to that low income eligibility. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 12 and 1 to 5. We're not open on the weekends and closed all major holidays. When you call, please limit the information to the issue at hand. Once we go through the eligibility screening, which does include some sensitive questions regarding race, income, disability, resources, banking, property value, immigration, so forth. Once we go through the eligibility screening process and determine that you are eligible for services, then we'll be able to go into more depth about what the issue at hand is and receive all the information. But go ahead and just please make sure that you keep the information limited to what it is so we can ensure we provide you the best discuss services. Now, if you are eligible for our services, we'll typically call you back within 48 business hours. So I mentioned that I was going to provide a couple other additional numbers. If you have issues with health or public benefits, please call our Current Health Consumer Center at 661-321-3982. If you feel that you're being discriminated against when it comes to your right to housing, please call our Fair Housing Law Project. We do active investigations on what's called the complaint-based system. So we have to receive complaints of discrimination in order to actively investigate them and determine the proper course of action. That number is 661-334-4679. More information about all of our programs, including this webinar, which will be posted at a later date, it can be found at www.gbla.org. And of course, we are on social media. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And then, of course, these webinars are always recorded and posted to our YouTube channel. You can find us with the at GBLA. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you found the information valuable. I hope you all have a great Saturday.